A very good morning to you. Welcome to another edition now of Rise and Shine. It's an absolute beautiful morning. The rains have been coming down in torrents. I don't know how your area is today, but we are enjoying the weather and we're doing what we are supposed to do while the rain is doing what it is supposed to do. My name is Janice Kobum. Thank you so much for joining us yet again.
Good morning, Africa. Good morning, Nigeria. Good morning, Akwa Ibom State. It's a beautiful Tuesday morning, raining heavily, but we're thankful. Like Janet said, everything is doing what it ought to do. My name is Uyai Anek, and it's still a really good day to rise and shine wherever you are. Thanks for joining us this morning. Of course, we do hope that you are following us across all social media platforms. You can find all that at spectrumtv.ng. Also, we like the energy on Twitter at spectrumtv online. Let's keep the conversation going. What's happening in Nigeria on your end? What's that particular thing that's been taking your attention when we are talking about the state of our nation? Of course, that's why we are here on Rise and Shine this morning, and let's do this journey with you today. Thanks for joining us once again.
Definitely.
Good morning, Janet.
Good morning, Uyai. Now, when we even talk about the rains, I'm sure there are a particular set of people that are very happy about rain, and those are farmers, because of course we get to see that there's a lot of vegetation that look fresh.
It does.
You look fresh.
It does. I could imagine if all we had on us
Was
was
sunshine.
sunshine just on
Yes.
your skin. So I'm sure that we'll probably check that out. Benefits of rains to
Rain
humans.
to humans.
Yeah,
Aside
of
from
course.
water, aside
Yeah.
from water, I think it makes one
But it's
fresh.
beneficial to us because I mean, if the rains are not coming down on our crops, well, we find food to eat, and then
True.
in the overall food is important to
To the body.
survival. So yeah,
Yeah,
rain is
great,
helping us.
great one. Okay, let's look at some of our flash stories this morning. Of course, just like I had said earlier, on Rise and platforms. And don't forget that we also hope to get feedbacks from you. So send us mails, send us feedbacks. We really do want to hear from you. And now, as part of our flash stories this morning, of course, it's no longer news that the president was in Guinea-Bissau, of course, to attend the 63rd ECOWAS summit in Guinea-Bissau, and by Sunday he emerged as the new chairman of ECOWAS summit. Now, again, we saw that yesterday, being Monday evening, of course, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu arrived in Abuja from Bissau, capital of Guinea-Bissau, where he attended the 63rd ordinary session of the Authority of Heads of State and Government of the Economic Community of West African States, which held on Sunday. The NAF 001 Boeing 737 jet conveying Tinubu and his entourage touched down at the Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport, Abuja, at about 6:30 p.m. local time. And then afterwards, he was conveyed to his Maitama residence, as he is yet to move into his official residence over 1 month after assuming office. Of course, we saw that at Sunday's meeting in Bissau, the Nigerian leader emerged as the new chairman of the ECOWAS through a unanimous endorsement. Welcome, Mr. President. I think that's the best way to put it right now. Welcome, Mr. President.
Welcome, Mr. President. Well, it's a good one. He came back more dignified.
Yeah.
That he left for Guinea-Bissau.
At least one more feather in his cap right now.
Exactly. Because I'm very sure that he went to Guinea-Bissau not expecting, to become the chairman of ECOWAS. Like he also said in his appreciation message in Guinea-Bissau, he even mentioned that he is new to the job,
True.
So being new to the job as president, as one of the West African presidents, and now he's being given the responsibility as chairman of ECOWAS. So I mean, just adding back to back, the responsibilities are coming on him, and then he's back to the country. Of course, he has promised to have an all-inclusive leadership in his administration as chairman of ECOWAS. But then I think something that stands out in this his arrival to Nigeria is the fact that the president, after 1 month of being sworn into office, is still living at his personal residence in Maitama instead of having moved into the Astro Rock Villa. I'm sure it will raise a lot of questions, because a couple of days before handing over, I mean, they were given a tour of the entire facility, and I'm sure that before then, you know, certain renovations might have been done. Now,
You
part
think
of the
so?
excuses,
You think so?
now, part of the excuses right now might
Yeah.
be that, oh, there are certain renovations that are currently going on. You know, that's what is hampering the
I think I
progress
want
of
to
the-
believe that.
You want? Okay, I think
I
it's
think
the
I want to
safest
believe,
thing
yeah,
to-
it's the safest place to land as we speak right now.
Yeah.
There are just a lot of renovations that will be ongoing at the moment. Surprisingly, yeah, I heard something that quite baffled me.
Okay.
About the House of Assembly, the National House of Assembly. Some kind of, okay, so before, after, you know, some, let me use the ninth assembly now. When the ninth, after every assembly finishes and wraps up, that when the next assembly comes, they begin to do those kinds of renovations and buy those things anew. Is that not shocking? So when you begin to hear that so much money has been gone to renovations, you begin to ask, where do these monies go to? After, we would say it's too demeaning to say that it is senators that are reaping these things, or it is administrative staff that are reaping these things. But the truth of the matter is that they reap off almost everything.
But it means that we are an absolutely wasteful nation. A couple of weeks ago, we saw the president increase the salaries of, you know, the citizens, those working, and then there was a push for him to increase the salaries of politicians, and he said no, politicians cannot get an increment in the salaries. It's going to be only the citizens. When are we going to get to a point in this country when we have people, you know, moving such ideologies and such views in this country? How can you rip off upholstery in a national assembly that was used for just how many years? Most of them are still new. It's not like there's a problem with it, and you're, you know, putting hundreds of millions to change all, no longer keep at this. It just shows that we are not, you know, we are not people that are burdened by the things that concerns our country. We are not there's a word that I'm looking for, but it's not coming. We are not nation driven as a people. Let's do our
nation building.
Yes, exactly. I think that should be the word. We are not, because there should be one or two persons within the National Assembly that would say, this has gone on for too long in several years. If we calculate how much this takes from the economy and take it and put even in the smallest sector, even let's say loans or grants to MSMEs, see what the country would look like if everybody, I mean 150 people living below poverty line, and we're spending money on chairs and tables.
So it's very possible, yeah, that you know, the House of the welcome again, Mr. President. Of course, it's time for us to continue hitting the ground running.
Of course,
and doing more of.
I think the president has hit the ground running. His feet have lifted.
He's
about to take flight.
It's more of let's continue to hit the ground running.
Oh, okay. So we'll go to
first major
story this morning, and we are looking at a legal luminary that has served at the bar for 60 years. Of course, on Monday, several dignitaries from all walks of life poured encomiums and eulogy on the legal luminary and founder of Afe Babalola University at Ekiti, Are Afe Babalola San, over his contributions to the legal profession and humanity in the country as he celebrates his 60 years at the bar.
That's pretty much.
That's a lot.
That's a lot. And it's like, seriously, it's worthy of commendation. 60 years at the bar.
So you can imagine what all his investment of the legal profession and the society at large. Of course, we also saw him adding his imprints. Okay, they said his imprints would remain indelible. Now, the former president who recalled appointing him as the pro-chancellor and chairman of the governing University of Lagos said his innovative ideas, hard work and leadership qualities earned the university the ranking of the best in research and learning in the African continent. Now, former President Olusegun Obasanjo also said his undying commitment in his quiet philanthropic activities, which culminates in his donation of infrastructure to several educational, medical, traditional, and religious institutions across the country, cannot be overemphasized. He also said, before now, I was convinced that Ares place in the Hall of Fame is assured as one of the men who can genuinely be described as benefactors of mankind for his enormous contributions and for making the world a happier place. Of course, there it said Afe Babalola, a special gift to Ekiti, Nigeria. On his own, of course, we saw his state governor, Mr. Bernard Yebanji, describe Are Afe Babalola as a special gift to Ekiti State, Nigeria, and humanity. Of course, we're going to have a lot of people reminisce on Afe Babalola's prominent roles in the struggle and eventual creation of Ekiti State. He said he was part of the state. So we are looking at an entire elder statesman here, whether it is for the Ekiti people, whether it's for the legal luminaries, or if it's for the country at large,
or even for the Yoruba nation.
Oh,
right?
good that, yeah.
Now I was reading like a biography of Afe Babalola yesterday, and it will shock you that this man is coming from the humblest of backgrounds. A farmer, a child that grew up in the farmland. You hardly change clothes, you hardly brush teeth, you hardly take a bath, and all rich and mighty at a time. But then again, according to what was written about him, he was able to get some kind of help from a friend of his father that decided, okay, let me take this child and take care of him, and that was how he attended primary school. And after that, every other education that came his way was self-fought for. It was something he deliberately fought for to achieve and all of that. So it's quite, he's quite a man that is commendable for all of the things that he has been ascribed to, as part of celebrating 60 years at the bar. It's not easy. It's not easy to do that at all. But we have a footage of former President. So that video isn't ready for the now, but again, Afe Babalola is one person that is being celebrated the world over as we speak, of course, for all of the indelible footprints that he has left in the sands of time. And I just hope that other luminaries, legal luminaries, will just take
his person and his investments into the legal profession can be studied. I mean, as a senior advocate of Nigeria and has been on the bench for 60 years, there has to be something he knows better. There has to be, something he knows how best to do. So it's going to be very instructive if we have new generation lawyers, read up his bio, get to sit in his courtrooms when he's adjudicating cases and all of that, and learn from the person, Afe Babalola, as it were. And we're also seeing that it's not, his impact is not just in the University of Lagos now. And even when you speak about Afe Babalola University, is one of the best private schools that we have in the country, So this is a man that has literally left his footsteps in the sands of time, and he has to be duly understudied, especially when you're looking at 60 years. Now, doing one job for 60 good years. That's how we are looking at it. 60 years is 6 decades, right? That he's been on the job. So it means that Afe Babalola also became, he was called Siba at a very early age. If he's about 80 plus now, he has spent 60 years on his job. And I mean, he's one of the finest lawyers that Nigeria has, rather. So he's worth, I'm sure in this particular celebration, we are going to have what we call it, an autobiography of him coming out. And then we are told all of his stories, how he has climbed from one ladder to the other. This is something that every budding lawyer should absolutely understudy.
Yeah, definitely. But in all of this, there's always a part where Nigerians will pick up and create some kind of drama in it. So we'll take a picture. This particular picture is trending of the Ekiti State governor that had to prostrate flat for the man Afe Babalola, of course, during all of the celebration.
Of course.
And then a lot of people are saying, oh, you can imagine, yes, that's the Ekiti State governor there.
Yeah.
You can imagine, oh, humility and all of this and all of that. So much talk about that.
Okay, but this is the Yoruba nation. First of all, this is how Yorubas are. It doesn't even matter who you are in the world. A Yoruba man will always prostrate to his elder. And then we're looking at someone who's older than you in age, older than you in experience, and everything is put together. What's the fuss about having a governor do something that he's accustomed to as a tradition of culture? You know, prostrating to greet an older person, for God's sake. And I'm very sure it's just people from other parts of the nation who do not hold affiliations to these kinds of, you know, stands of honor. But there's really nothing about that. Whatever the drag is about is not worth the onion.
Yeah, definitely. But I think there's a tweet, there's a particular tweet that we have to this particular picture. So we'll just take that very quickly, while we are also hoping that the video of former President Olusegun Obasanjo comes up very, very shortly.
Okay, so this is Dr. Smiles. He says, Yoruba Tata, we prostrate ourselves to greet our elders, no matter how highly placed we are. Hashtag Yoruba love. This is the Executive Governor of Ekiti State, Berdun Oyebanji, prostrating to Baba Professor Are Afe Babalola. Of course, it as expected. At least it teaches the younger generation something also. Some of us become miniature celebrities, and we can't use our eye to see another person who's been there for the longest of times. Just imagine, you know, other lawyers now coming because they've also been at the bar for say 30 years, 40 years. They think they suddenly can just stand, you know, toe to toe with Afe Babalola. So it just shows us where the heads of the generation is, where honor, you know, is what's the word?
Yeah, it's supposed to be placed.
Yeah, we're honor supposed to be placed, right?
And to think that we are even going to be talking about moral decadence this
Exactly.
morning as our focus conversation.
Exactly.
So I do not think that there's supposed to even be like a trend for this particular picture.
Especially in the negative.
No, it's not as if it is in the negative, but it is making it look as if, oh, you know, the Ekiti State governor did some kind of very massive thing, you know, to prostrate before Afe Babalola. Come on, it is part of the Yoruba culture. So there are other people that prostrate without us seeing it. So if this one was taken on the picture, you understand, why should it even be causing a buzz on social media? Why
I think it's
trending?
if we come from that end,
he's a governor.
Yeah, if it comes from that end, then it's worthy of the buzz, because that's what I'm saying. There is a generation of people that will not do this. So it is the person who is more highly placed than himself. So it's a worthy reminder that honor is important no matter who you are.
Yeah, definitely.
It is.
I think we'll just quickly look at our very second major story for the morning. Now we see that there's just a lot of insecurity in Southeast Nigeria. We're talking about unknown gunmen. We're talking about the IPOB. We are talking about even another section of the IPOB, which is being headed by what's this man's name now? Oh, it just escapes me. It just escapes me. But then again, Southeast governors now and lawmakers and leaders of the Igbo Sociocultural Organization, Ohanese and Igbo, they have resolved to meet with President Bola Tinubu over the rising insecurity in the region. Now, the decision was taken at an emergency meeting held yesterday at the Imo State Governor's Lodge in Asokoro, Abuja. Now, they were addressing the greatest challenge facing the Southeast. He said, "We have identified insecurity as the problem of the Southeast for now, and it is at the front burner and must be addressed." Now, the federal government in the past supported us, but we think that it can be done more. So among other resolutions, we resolved today to make a representation to the president for his intervention to be able to bring insecurity in the region to an end. We'll take a listen to this and we come back right into the conversation.
The problem in Southeast is too much, it's too big for either or the governor to solve. The president of Nigeria must accept it as a Nigerian problem and give support to the governors. And of course, one good thing about it today is that there is unity between the governors and Ohanese. As you probably noticed, my emergence was the first time the whole 5 governors all agreed. I'm from Imo State. In Imo State, no other candidate emerged. Nobody opposed me. I came out. I was opposed. And the 5 governors all supported me. So the unity we have in Igbo land today, we have never had before. And that is a very big advantage to achieving our goal. I don't have any doubt in my mind. Definitely, we don't expect to sort out the matter in one day. Because some of the problems we have, there's criminal problem. Because people who come and kidnap, people who come to kill, they cannot say they are working for Biafra or working for Nnamdi Kanu. It's not correct. You know, if somebody kidnapping, it's either or criminal. So I think really that the governors in particular and the members of National Assembly, not only the governors really, and that's why we call them to this meeting. Members of National Assembly will work with the governors and get in touch with the president so that the matter can be actually resolved and once and for all. So I know.
Of course, security is in the exclusive list of the federal government, and there are certain things that these state governments cannot do on their own, even if they come together and collaborate. So that's why we are seeing this meeting, bringing together these governors to go and appeal to the president. Although the federal government has been supporting them thus far, they're saying they need more federal government presence, to handle the insecurity issues in the southeast. And I think something that is worthy of note, as we even heard from that feed, is the fact that yes, the Igbo nation has an agitation, or probably you can even say had an agitation, but there seems to be people amongst them who have now hijacked what the agitation is and have turned it into a nightmare right before their eyes. It's Simon Ekpa's name you were trying to remember. I think he's of the EC something extraction of the infraction IPOP, happening there. So there's been people that have usurped what the agitation was about, and then they're now even making life more difficult for even the Southeasterners themselves. Exactly. It goes beyond even visitors.
You can imagine sit at home for 1 week.
Yeah.
How do people survive?
Yes. And knowing that those, the Southeasterners, they're heavy traders, and it's how they, that's how their economy thrives. And you see, for the last 1 to 2 years, there's been sit at home every Monday. It's
now like looking like a norm. Do
you understand? Normal. So imagine how much revenue is lost in some of those southeast states every Monday, and talk about the times that it is extended. So it's actually something that we need the federal government's attention. But then when you say let's invite the federal government in, there's going to be negotiations on the table. There's going to be something the federal government is going to be asking these governors to do, so that the federal government can step in, in a certain extent. Are they ready? Because I'm very sure when we are looking at the leadership of the likes of President Bola Tinubu, he's going to be asking a big one, for them to be able to have some form of rest and all of that. There's been certain, moves. A lot of people have been requesting that Nnamdi Kanu be released.
That's another big one.
Yes, that's a really, tall order. But yet we have still seen that hasn't been done. There are speculations that if Nnamdi Kanu is released, maybe then, a lot of this tension in the southeast will be doused. So maybe as they have gone now to see the president, these are some of the conversations they should have with him. Yes, and let's see how this turns out. Hopefully a lot of peace should be returning, because there's a lot of revenue being lost in the southeast. That's aside, let's talk about lives and property. And like they said, they're now stigmatized with misrepresentation to the rest of the country.
And not just the rest of the country, but the rest of the world as well.
Yes.
But surprisingly, I'm happy that you brought about the fact that, look, while you're asking the federal government to step in, what are you going to be doing as governors of some of the states in the southeast? Now, shockingly now, the president of Ohanaeze Ndigbo Lagos State Chapter, Solomon Ogbonna, has blamed the insecurity that is happening in southeastern states on poor leadership. Not just poor leadership. I'm going to look at how they put it. Leadership failure is what is responsible for the insecurity that we are finding in southeastern Nigeria.
So when he says leadership failure, is it leadership failure on the part of the southeastern governors, or
of course we're talking about governors here? So leadership failure. So it goes back to what you said earlier, that while we are asking the federal government to step in to quell some of the
what are they willing to do?
What are they willing to do as governors?
It's very, very important, because I'm very, very sure there are tall orders that the federal government can actually ask of the southeastern, parts of our country. there's just a lot. We can't even start throwing up the speculation, but we need to have that conversation, and we need to have it now. Of course, we also saw how these tensions affected the output of elections in the southeast. So there's actually a lot to look into. Let's find a way to call truce and let all of the faction areas just sheath their sword. Remember that Ohanes and Igbo, as a community of Igbos, they will tell you that there are people. For instance, Simon Ekpa is not backed by any of the strong Igbo communities. They keep on saying, I think it was last week that we had one of the Southeast governors, go out to him very audaciously and said, if you give that instruction of a seat at home again, you're actually going to have to face me directly, and all of those things. So there's a lot of back and forth happening in the East, and it's good now that they have decided to come together. And that's something, the orator also said, having all of these governors unify at the same time. He says, it's not something that is not a common call, but having them come together in unity to foster these negotiations, I think is one of the best days. So we hope to see these conversations. Mary Joseph is on standby to bring us the newspaper. When we return, there's a lot to still look into. Of course, the newspapers will be buzzing. It's Tuesday. There's more information. And also, moral decadence. Miss Solma Ejikeme, of course, came out to confirm that she had actually reject her results. Why exactly did this happen? Of course, this and more things we'll be talking about when we return. Rise and Shine continues.
Business exists only to meet the needs of the people. But there's an extra advantage if your product and services are pitched on a platform that gives you the added advantage over your competitors. For your desired return on investment and so much more, advertise on Spectrum Television, on StarTime's DTH Channel 421 and on free-to-air with a frequency of 12733. Spectrum Television, broadening your horizon.
Spectrum TV, broadening your horizon.
As of state of government, Secretary General,
voting for Spectrum TV to improve fertilizer planting.
A very good morning to you and welcome to your morning news brief on Spectrum live from Uyo. I am Mary Joseph. We begin the news brief with a report from the national scene where President Bola Tinubu has returned to Abuja after a two-day trip to Guinea-Bissau for the 63rd ordinary session of the Authority of Heads of State and Government of the Economic Community of West African States, ECOWAS, in Bissau. At the summit, which is the president's first meeting with the sub-regional authority, Tinubu emerged as the new ECOWAS chairman after President Muhammadu Buhari, who previously held the position. In a separate development, the federal government is set to harmonize all revenue collecting agencies in Nigeria. The special advisor to President Bola Tinubu on revenue, Zach Adedeji, made this known to newsmen. Adedeji said the government will double the country's total annual revenue, which is currently below 15 trillion naira, by deepening the nation's revenue collection system and not by adding extra tax. Heading straight to our business scene, the naira has appreciated to 744 naira per $1 at the investors and exporters window. The closing rates yesterday represent a 24 naira per dollar gain from Friday's 768 naira per dollar rates. According to reports, the Central Bank of Nigeria unified all exchange rates into the I&E window and allowed market forces to determine exchange rates for the naira. Heading straight to the foreign scene, the military alliance chief, Jens Stoltenberg, says Turkey's President Tayyip Erdogan has agreed to support Sweden's bid to join NATO. Stoltenberg said the Turkish leader would forward Sweden's bid to the parliament in Ankara and ensure ratifications. Turkey had earlier stalled the ratification process, accusing Sweden of hosting Kurdish militants. And finally, in sports, Ashley Young has agreed to join Everton and is scheduled to have a medical today after leaving Aston Villa this summer. Young won the Premier League and FA Cup with Manchester United, as well as the Serie A title with Inter Milan. Young also won the Europa League and League Cup with United and earned 39 England caps, playing in the 2018 World Cup semi-final defeat by Croatia. We'll have details of this and more in our news at 12. I am Mary Joseph. Let's head back to Rise and Shine where we have Janice and Uyai on standby. Do have a wonderful morning.
Government, Secretary General,
voting for Spectrum TV to improve fertilizer planting.
Every society is premised on the quality of relationships forged by its inhabitants. The health of these relationships determines how well people, relationships, organizations thrive and how long they stick together. Join Uyai and Yekan on Connect every Wednesday from 6 p.m. to 6:30 p.m. and on Sunday 2:30 to 3 p.m. on channel 421 on StarTimes to catch all the conversations, interviews, real stories and how to navigate relationships and family life in the 21st century. Real people, real faces, real stories. Connect live on Spectrum Television.
Nigerian police
allowed by grossly abused. Our governors have to share police powers with the president as stipulated by the Constitution. We do not have a federal government police force. We have the Nigerian Police Force, which shall be administered, organized, and supervised by the Nigerian Police Force.
No, my lord, I want to say something. I want to say something here. Perhaps it might also enlarge the scope of people who should be invited here for examination. My lord, if we cannot find those who literally murdered Abiola, who are those people who could be said to be the beneficiaries of the death of Abiola?
Rogers has linked you with some of the killings he did.
He never did.
He linked you with the attempted murder of Hebrew.
He did not.
My lord, the Matters Council is leading the evidence in our matters.
Is this an adversary proceeding?
It's not, my lord, but you can't be talking about cases which are in court.
Is this an adversary proceeding?
It's not, my lord. These cases are in court, my lord. I'm just reminding your lordship.
My lord, sorry, my lord. I think I'll be in cross-examination.
Legally Speaking, a program that deals with legal issues and questions we face as citizens of this amazing country, Nigeria. Legally Speaking. Join us every
Friday from 5 p.m. to 6 p.m.
for Legally Speaking.
Welcome back. If you're just joining us, this is Rise and Shine, and we're coming to you live from Uyo, the capital city of Akwa Ibom State, Nigeria. Of course, Mary Joseph just brought us tidbits of global news. Facebook, Instagram, tweet at Spectrum T Online. All the other social media platforms can be found at spectrumtv.ng. Of course, we looked at the fact that the president has returned to Nigeria from his trip to Guinea-Bissau for the ECOWAS 63rd summit. Of course, we saw that when he went there, he became the newly crowned chairman of the southeastern state, have decided to come together in a unity meeting to head to a meeting with the president to address the insecurity plaguing the southeastern state. These and more are some of the conversations we've had so far on Rise and Shine. To follow up on all that, social media handles will help you. At this time, let's go straight now to Daily Spotlight, where we bring you information from the front pages of the national dailies. Stay with us.
So many information on the front pages of our national dailies this morning. But let's see, quite interesting ones as well.
Of course, it's Tuesday.
Yeah, it's Tuesday actually, but quite baffling as well, and revealing are some of the informations on the front pages this morning. Let's look at what the Nation has for us. Let's start with the Nation newspaper. The big story here, it says 800,000 liters vessel with stolen crude intercepted and destroyed. And looking at the writer of that story, NNPCL Security raises bar in crude theft battle. 64 illegal crude joints found, 77 illegal refineries destroyed. Okay, moving forward, Saudi page 2 and 3 is where you get details of that story. US waivers export duties on cocoa. Economy gets boost. Page 7 is where you get that from. And then we move forward. Tinubu targets 30 trillion naira revenue in 3 years. Plans technology data-driven approach. FIRS, Customs, NIMASA, others won't merge. Okay. And we also have that Obasanjo lashes lawmakers for fixing on pay. This was part of the conversations he had during the colloquium of Afebabolola yesterday. Court orders INEC to suspend Adamawa wreck prosecution. Those are just the stories on the front page of the Nation newspaper.
Moving now from the Nation, let's look at the front page of the Punch this morning. Big story on the Punch newspaper. Fuel smuggling persists in borders despite subsidy removal, says Customs boss. Page 2. Customs CG rejigs border patrol, orders crackdown on fuel smuggling cartels. NNPCL intercepts Cameroon-bound vessel laden with 800,000 liters stolen crude oil. That's a lot of number. Of course, we also see here Lagos Airport runway lights stolen, 7 suspended. Page 9 is where we can find details. We also see here Fayose will pay for working against Atiku, PDP, NEC member. Okay, there's more fighting and wrangling happening there. Page 18 is where you can find details. NLC meets governors over fuel subsidy palliatives. Page 8 is where we can find details. It's illegal for National Assembly to fix members' pay, says Obasanjo. Page 8 is where you can find details. EcoBank asks FBN to reject Otudeko's share acquisition. Page 19. Tinubu can't appoint of Tony Elumelu meeting Joe Biden and King Charles III. We also see here PDP demands transparency as Akeredolu extends sick leave. Page 18. Find details. Eliborn chides Emir for stopping Isese festival. Page 8 is where we can find details, and that's all we have on the front page of the Punch.
Says Kuka indicts Buhari's government on corruption, says administration has worst record. Of course, these are some of the comments that were made during the colloquium yesterday for Afe Babalola. I think Bishop Matthew Kuka was the one that gave the
charge.
Not charge now. There's something. It's blue commiserate with families. You can find that story on page 4. PDP governors meet other parties' state of affairs. Okay, PDP governors meet over parties' state of affairs. Page 6 is where you get that from. Consider APC members for ministerial other appointments. Adamu tells Tinubu. Page 29 is where you get that story from. Court restrains INEC from prosecuting suspended Adamawa wreck. You can find that story on page 5. Terror group bans farmers, fishermen, herders from Broni communities. You can find that on page 23. And Plateau, gunmen kill 8 villagers in fresh attack. Military recovers 5 rifles, live ammunitions. Page 4 is where you get that from. Akeredolu extends medical leave indefinitely. You can find that story. The writer says that delicate orders reactivation of emergency response center as one dies. You can find that story on page 26. And finally, APC postpones national caucus NEC meetings, and that's all on the front page of Daily Sun.
Moving from Daily Sun, we go now to Vanguard, and the big story says corruption's ugliest phase was under Buhari, says Kuka. We also see here laments Nigeria sharing sovereignty with bandits, terrorists. Says Nigerians have lost faith in judiciary. We won't join issues with him, Buhari's aides. Falana cautions Tinubu against sending wrong signals on anti-corruption fight. Notes some visitors to the villa in court for looting. We've known democracy that delivers dividends to the people, says Obasanjo. Sitting judges should not preside over election tribunals, says Afe Babalola. Okay. We also see here FGN securities up 19.9% to 10.2 trillion naira as states decline by 5%. Page 19 is where we can find details. We won't pay compensation for illegal structures, Governor Umoyeno warns. Page 12. NECA to Tinubu. Edo residents protest failed Auchi Igara Ibilo Road. Page 6 is where we can find details. Security operatives intercept vessel notorious for stealing Nigerian crude. Delta community laments gas leakage. Page 12 is where we can find details. INEC court halls try here the picture story of Elumelu meeting Biden. APC presidential poll. APC already preparing for rerun as alleged by the Labour Party. Okay. Anambra prepares for flood, trains 120 health workers. Page 11 is where we can find details of that story. And the Vanguard Sports of the Vanguard this morning.
And finally, we'll look at the Nigerian Tribune. Security firm intercepts 800,000 liters capacity vessel with stolen crude oil. Terrorists kill 8-month-old baby as virus claims residents. Everyone is at risk. Protect yourself, says federal government. Insecurity now. Southeast governors leaders to meet Tinubu, says Uzodimma. Looking out for stories that we haven't seen, new stories. Of course, every other story has been the only different stories on the Nigerian Tribune. Yes, that's about the only new story on the Nigerian Tribune. But that's all. I think would we say that it is also good that 800,000 liters of vessels with stolen crude has also been intercepted. I guess that's why the name Tom Polo is trending on Twitter as we speak, because say here, I know that he delivered the lecture yesterday in Ado Ekiti, and he was speaking during the colloquium for Afe Babalola yesterday. I'm trying to look for the theme of that lecture. Of course, it said the future of constitutional democracy in Nigeria, imperative of a new constitutional order. And you know, when we even talk about the man Matthew Kuka, we know that he is one person that is very vocal about his thoughts and opinion. And for the longest of time during the past administration, he's been one person that has always hammered on the loopholes that President Buhari, former President Muhammadu Buhari left behind, you know, in terms of what his administration promised Nigerians and we're not doing, or what had it again yesterday to the fact that, look, the administration of former President Muhammadu Buhari seemed to be the worst administration when we look at the annals of the history of Nigeria and talking about democracy as well. But again, he has mentioned that it is not just him that, you know, is seeing all of this. The likes of Femi Falana-San now has written numerous books on, you know, the issues affecting us as a country under the administration of former President Muhammadu Buhari.
There's a lot of issues raised on the front pages of our national dailies this morning, and I think one that also stands out to me because it's on the heels of something we just talked about this morning, where we see on the front page of the Punch former President Olusegun Obasanjo saying it is immoral and unconstitutional for lawmakers to decide their pay. I mean, this is something we're just talking about with the and be the ones to determine how much they are being paid. Of course, we saw the former president Olusegun Obasanjo describe the self-determination of lawmakers at the moment as immoral and unconstitutional. Now, he decried that those who would uphold the constitution are the ones who undermine it, because I mean, this is a major problem. How are you the policy makers and you are, also against, the law, as it were? But then these are things that really need to be revisited. How much should the politicians be earning from the public offices, and who is setting the price tag for, how much that is? Look at all the benefits, look at how much is budgeted just to sip tea and eat biscuit. So I mean, it's something else. We really need to look at that. And it's good to see that we have elder statesmen pointing out these issues. Something else that stands out is the fact that Afe Babalola has said that it would be wrong for currently sitting judges to preside over the election petition tribunal.
Exactly. It's something that it's a good recommendation, I must say.
Absolutely. And that's what we're talking about when we're celebrating his 60 years at the bar. He's one person that if he gives recommendations to the Nigeria Bar Association, something that should be taken seriously. He has seen literally and conquered a lot of phases as the legal profession in Nigeria has continued to evolve. And if he says that it is close, Matthew Cook has also pointed out that Nigerians have lost faith in the judiciary. One way to do that is to overhaul people that are presiding over this, and I do hope that someone takes it seriously.
Yes, we hope that someone takes it actually seriously, but at this point we'll just take a short breather, and while we do so, we'll be connecting with our guest this morning. She is Dinah Mary Onwan, a women and child of Mesoma, and how she actually manipulated her results by herself and projecting herself as the highest JAMB scorer in the country. We'll be right back shortly. Do stay with us.
Welcome back. If you're just joining us, this is Rise and Shine. And if you have been here with us last week, there was a serious buzz in the media space about the just concluded UTME. Several allegations, several voices spoke up, even the former Minister of Education, Obi Ezekwesili, and several other people, including her state governor, to investigate into the situation. But it turns out a few days later that Ms. Omai Jikeme actually confesses to having manipulated her JAM results. Now, this conversation had gone since. There's been a lot of responses back and forth, and JAM had said she would be banned for 3 years, deep into the fabric of our society. How are we having teenagers have the impetus to reject their results? Now, to have this conversation with us this morning is Dana Mary Owen. Of course, she's joining us from Calabar, and she is a women's and child advocate, of course. Great voice.
Good morning. Good morning. Nice to be here as well.
All right. How's Calabar this morning?
Very well. Just drizzles here and there. Of course, it's the season. So, yeah, Calabar is fantastic.
All right. Okay, great. So, the story of Ms. Omaijikeme gave a lot of people, first of all, a lot of people were in her defense, saying it is, it's not even something a lot of people could think of. So it was more like, how can JAM be putting all their energy against a juvenile? But what were your thoughts initially when this story came up?
Absolute confidence in the systems that exist. First and foremost, anything could have happened, technical hitches. We've seen where even during elections, we cannot ascertain the facts and the results and all of that. So yes, once again, as an individual that is fidel, that's true to what it stands for, maybe there was a technical hitch, there was a glitch, there was a problem. And all
Network, something happened, right? Of course, she'll be rejoining us shortly. But like she said, giving everybody the benefit of the doubt
is to different things. But I think one that stands out for me is the fact that a lot of people have actually lost confidence in our institutions, right? Okay, Dana Mary is back. Thank you so much for joining us again, Dimary.
Lack of confidence in the systems, and also I did not rule out on the fact that she could have been guilty as well, because the moral decadence, we are not paying attention to the values. Our core values are being to just behave anyhow and think that it is trendy. I think that is the right thing. So I wasn't absolute on anything. Everybody had the part to play, but now as it is, is a different kettle of fish to fry.
Yeah, definitely.
So we can now speak.
Yeah, but let's also look at the line where some Nigerians took Mesoma and all of that. You talked about failure in institutions. Let's come back to that now before we even begin to delve into the moral decadence that has bedeviled the country. Now, failure of institutions. What do you think? Some time ago, we heard that a snake now actually swallowed 38, I think million, is it million now, no billion naira from JAM, from the coffers of JAM. So it allowed Nigerians, that room to begin to feel that no, JAM is not saying the truth and all of that. But what do you think about, failure, institutional failures?
In the very systems that should uphold and protect us. You know what I mean? We are citizens, and we have a fiduciary that these systems are in place for our benefit, for us to thrive and for us to exist. It is what we deserve. But over time, we have seen issues emerge where we do not have the trust, the confidence, the morale to say this. I have implicit trust in this system. From the election, even till now, that they have said the girl has confessed to being guilty of forging her results or manipulating her scores. There are people who still have reservations that she has been
called loss of confidence in our institutions. I don't know how, I know that JAM came out to vindicate itself. Oh, we are vindicated at this point in time and all of that. But it still goes back to institutional failures, because this is just like an example, a tip of the iceberg to some of the issues or some of the beliefs that Nigerians have concerning different institutions in the country. Okay, thank you so much, Dinah Mary. Please just go ahead with your your thoughts.
You know, for her to have had the audacity to go to a system we need to screw our knots, we need to tighten our loose ends. We have work to do. Let's not just say we have work to do. You know, we are not confident in the systems, and I think that it is time for all relevant bodies, all systems, to sit down and, you know, the systems as porous and as weak as the people running the systems. And
but JAM has come out to say, JAM has come out to say that their system was not hacked, that of course they have safeguarded their system and their database, so it's not even porous. So it's not about the porosity of the JAM database or anything.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is not about the porosity. As we have said, JAM stood their ground. On this one, JAM stood their ground and said it's manipulated. But as Nigerians, we were like, are we sure? Yeah. You know, I was saying something about the systems as strong or as recognized or as valued as the people running the systems. You understand? So I think that in this situation, manipulated her results. This whole entire situation goes back to moral decadence, as you tagged it. For the girl who is a young woman, because I hear she's 19, to have sat down to manipulate a result, it speaks volumes. And one of the areas I want to bring out is, was there pressure? She said she's an intelligent child, she's always taking first in her class. Sometimes as children, parents should not pressurize children. Position is position. This issue of first position, second position, third position, it doesn't, I don't know, was she under some kind of duress or pressure to prove herself one more time as somebody who is always taking first position, or she overrated herself? But having said that, the impetus to go and doctor a result is fraudulent and very criminal. When you lose all sense of decorum to the extent that you go to manipulate an exam that is nationally graded to be the
Now, something very important there that I picked from what Dinah Mary is trying to solve, and your parents are asking you, who took first in your class?
Does the person have 4 heads?
Does the person have 4 heads? Why didn't you take first? And maybe you could be starved of food or something, or you're not gifted just like every other child in the family and all of that. So I think pressure is a serious issue here. Dinah Mary, yes, you said something about pressure. You know, and we were just trying to reiterate back, you know, in primary school where of that. So pressure is very key here in this conversation.
You told me to be on this show. That is one of the areas I said I will really highlight. Parents should reduce pressure on children. There's no such thing. A parent, when you take a child's results, you can assess the child from the scores, the grades. Forget about the position. Do you know that I have children, and there are sometimes my children come home, they don't take first position, but the average is so good. You have a child have up to 91 strengths in different areas. Let us stop this. What position? Because yes, possibly she could have been under pressure, she could have been under duress. Some parents, let me use the word some, you know, maybe they don't know any better. We should identify the strengths of our children and help them to develop in that area, in the area of their strength. Position is not a fundamental to ascertain if a child will be excellent, because what will make Mensoma go and manipulate her results? If not one, she wants to prove that she's an excellent, she's always been first, people are cheering her. You know how it is when you're first, there's pressure. You want to maintain your ranks there. 2, it will be criminally minded to say that the benefits that come with whoever takes all round first. So even problem in the value system. Sorry to share a personal experience. My son was a scholar in his secondary school JSS1. He was the best student in JSS1, so they put him up on billboards. By the second term, he dropped to 3rd position. And this was what happened in his school. The teachers would say, a whole scholar, you're now 3rd position. Do you know my son went through a psychological trauma because everybody that you will be, in fact, at that time in his life, I was the only person giving him the moral support. That opened my eyes to see that we operate in a system where position is heralded.
Yes.
You must be first. You must be that. In fact, I had to go to the school and tell them to stop that nonsense. And they should withdraw whatever score.
Oh, something's just, kicking her out. Of course, she'll be back soon. And that's something else we need to look at. There's a balance we need in our education system. It's not just about curriculum. We're also looking at character formation and psychology while we raise young persons. Because if we are not getting it right, I know that there is something that my mother often says. She says the system of education they had when they went to secondary school is really different, because she says to the extent to which they walk and ate, they were taught in schools.
Exactly.
What exactly
How
are we
do you
learning
see
in
it?
our secondary schools, So
You must
Mary's
bridge.
back.
Okay, Dana Mary's back.
So we are seeing a battle of curriculum as opposed to also having a balance with psychology and character formation whilst our children are in school. So just in our education systems, especially when we get to the secondary school levels, to help us form and inform the character of our wards in schools.
You know that when I was in secondary school, we had functional guidance and counseling departments.
Yes.
Janice and my sister sitting over there, I question some of the schools that we have. I question that we have a functional guidance and counseling department in some of the schools that we have in Nigeria these days. Why did we have guidance and counseling? To speak to the conscience, to speak to the children, to put them on the right track, to nurture their psychology, to nurture their emotions, to be considerate in this regard. But these days, just like a sick bay and a guidance and counseling, we have watered down these things. Those things have a role to play. When I was going to SS1 in my school, they would determine if you would be arts or science. Yeah. I desperately wanted to be a science student because it was what was the in thing. But my results clearly showed I was arts inclined. I went to the GNC, the guidance and counseling unit, as at when I was in secondary school, and they spoke to me. And I made up my mind. I said, okay, this is what is good for me, and I went for it. But I can assure you that I doubt evaluation. So schools should go back. If we have schools who were appealing to the psychology, the emotions, the character of, we just go to school now to do A for apple, B for ball, and bogus things for children to read, not knowing that education is holistic. When you go to school, it is said that it is in character and in learning.
I think the network is on the way of course. Yeah, truth of the matter is, when we look at schools these days, there's just a rush, to build classrooms and administrative blocks, but we do not even have the nitty-gritties that make up education, or rather make it easy. And schools will not even hesitate to throw out students 1 week into resumption if they are not paid, if they've not paid school fees and all of that.
And you would even expect that some of these very expensive schools will be able to offer these services that are not very available in more schools. But then again, even when we have schools that have these services, some schools, I went to a school where I had some of my friends pressured to do sciences because they were the overall best in our class, in our set. They were very intelligent. And you would see a guidance counselor also tell a student that with this kind of intelligence, you should be doing sciences. Don't take these brains and waste it, quote and unquote, as was sold in some schools in the arts. So we also need to be looking at how stable, how holistic overhaul of our systems. When we are looking at this, part of the things we're talking about this morning is the fact that our social systems, the social fabric of our society is failing, is falling, hence the kinds of results that we are seeing. Probably, yes, Ms. Somaji must have thought of this, but we must accept the fact that, just like Diana Mary has pointed out, there were adult factors in this decision. Someone must have said, oh, you can do this, and because even when a super team brings you that kind of idea and comes to you, a tech-savvy person, and says, this is what I want to do, are you not in the place to scold the child and say, you cannot go on with this kind of activity? But it's this particular manipulation of her results, she didn't do it on her own. There's going to be 1 or 2 persons that joined hands to help her.
She said she did it on her
All
own.
on her
yes,
own.
there's more like a prank app that she used in manipulating the result.
And then
but
just do it and put it on the social media.
It brings me back to poor parental upbringing. If, for example, AJK Mesoma manipulated her results and, she was parading herself as the best, in the country and all of that. And then it started bringing some kinds of feedbacks from JAM. Wasn't it in the place of her father that came out to say, oh, this is what they did, in the place of this father of Mesomana to sit his daughter down and talk to her? That means, for me, I feel that there's a disconnect in parenting in that particular house. Because if I, as your mother or father, am able to talk to you and you're able to divulge so many things that are bothering you to me, then I would have expected the guts to come out and say, oh, they are after my child's life, they are after my child's destiny and all of that. So I think that there is just a disconnect in the upbringing that some parents give to their children these days. And that's why you have a 19-year-old stand up, begin to think about it, even the thought process for me, begin to think about how she can manipulate her result to the point where the whole country is put at disarray because of you. It's really pathetic.
It's a really pathetic one. Of course, you can imagine the leadership of her school. She just used her phone and manipulated the entire results and went ahead to print the results she had manipulated, and then provided the information to be seen in the social media spaces, right? So this is just unacceptable, as it were. But now when we even look at the fact that this is part of systemic failure and different things that have happened, are we also looking at how Diana Mary might say you are going to need to psychologically analyze the child. She's going to need overhaul.
She has said like counseling, go for counseling.
Yes, because I mean she needs a whole character reformation, as it were. So there's a lot to still look into Mesoma's, as a person. Now, this is just, for instance, this is just Mesoma's where social media began to go agog with it. Is it possible that she would have used that same result and entered into school and gotten an admission? Went ahead to have a university education, and then maybe sometime close to graduation, JAM tries to tally your numbers and they find out, oh, it does not tally with what we gave you, because we're able to defend themselves now. But what if it was not in the limelight of social media and then she was able to go ahead and take this and still have a university admission? What story will we be telling? So in the end, although with the context of this conversation, their institution looks tough, but they still need to look inwards into their, because I mean they
default, right? So it's just for her to put in her details and change the result that she wants to change, and Wulu, you get to print it out and all of that. But while we're talking about she going for counseling, character reformation and all of that, have we also thought about how this is going to also be affected now? Will be messing up with her psychology. How will Nigerians see her at the end of the day? All of this as some of the issues that we would have loved to discuss with Diana Mary Owen if she has to join us back. But again, I think another question that will be asked at this moment is, now that she has finally owned up to manipulating her result, where is the stance of JAM? Because we cannot actually leave her 3 years again at home until the ban is lifted or it's over before she begins to write JAM again. So will this be some kind of intervention? Is that not too stringent a measure or a punitive to give to her, in terms of what she has been able to do by opener? Because according to the boss of JAM, this is just some of the things that they get to see. The experiences that they have when they get to publish JAM results and all of that. But I think it's a homework for JAM as a body and as an exam body now to go back to the drawing board to see how they can begin to seal some of those loopholes, because it's Ms. Omar's case is just one out of the so many, according to JAM, that has even come full to public domain, that we know that okay, these things happen. Before now, maybe we did not even, it didn't cut across that these kinds of things can happen. So I think at JAM at this moment, they've come out to say, oh, they have been vindicated, but more than saying that we are vindicated, what is the task ahead? How can we begin to block this loophole so we don't have you know, this kind of issue happening again?
We've also had several people come also to back the stance of you know, JAM with banning her for 3 years, because initially when the story came up, we had OBS on her revelation and all the other results from the investigation. OBS Ekwesili is even saying, okay, you know, JAM is in their rights, they ban her for 3 years, and she, you know, covers that. So in 3 years, Miss Omar is going to be about 22. Am I correct? 19, 20,
yeah, she's 22.
She's going to be 22 years old in another 3 years. Well, I agree with you that, you know, 3 years might be like formation. Then again, of course, and then she can also learn a trade, do something that matures your mind. Because then again, we are seeing if you can do these tertiary institutions, what will she be willing to do when she gets into the university? Let's not forget that in the university system, we have those who sought for a living. You know, they literally do not go to school. They just know how much each lecturer is worth. No, this one, if you give him 30,000, that's all, your result is done. This one, if you give him this, that's done. Literally, let's not even, you know, cower beneath this. These things are happening in our schools. So if she could do this getting into tertiary institutions, what would she be willing to do? I mean, if JAM could be manipulated, are you talking about university system boards that, I mean, you just have a secretary sitting with her paper and her pen and impute results here and there and the likes? So we all analysis and the likes, she can learn, you know, some skill and all of that. And something we must not even bury under is the fact that yes, she's actually an intelligent person.
Of course, yes. That's why I seem
just
not
her
to,
intelligence put into wrong use.
I seem not to want to agree with you in terms of 3 years staying at home. 3 years staying at home as a juvenile. I think it's just keeping her mind busy at this moment. Let JAM, you know, come down on the ban. Is either JAM lifts the ban or reduces the year that she has to stay at home, you know, to be able to go through that punitive measure. But 3 years for me, I think it's pretty too much for a young girl, an intelligent young girl, you know, to stay at home. So I think that I would like to agree with you on that particular one there. But obviously, as well, I know that there was someone that came up to say whether she manipulated or not, she will still get a sponsorship, a scholarship, sponsorship outside the country and all of that. But we just hope that just like we have all said this morning, there's need for character, you know, reformation on her. There should be some kind of psychological pep talks on her as well, so that she comes out of all that she has gone through at the moment. But at this point, we are not able to get Dino Mary back as our guest. I think that network is actually on the way for all of this. We'll just take a breather now. When we come back, actually, we'll be wrapping things up at this end. Don't forget to still rise and shine. Just stay with us.
Business exists only to meet the needs of the people, but there's an extra advantage if your product and services are pitched on a platform that gives you the added advantage over your competitors. For your desired return on investment and so much more, advertise on Spectrum Television, on StarTime's DTH Channel 421 and on free-to-air with a frequency of 12733. Spectrum Television, broadening your horizon.
Every society is premised on the quality of relationships forged by its inhabitants. The health of these relationships determines how well people relate. From 6 p.m. to 6:30 p.m. and on Sunday 2:30 to 3 p.m. on channel 421 on Star Times to catch all the conversations, interviews, real stories on how to navigate relationships and family life in the 21st century. Real people, real faces, real stories. Connect live on Spectrum Television.
The Nigerian police, which is the only one allowed by them. Our governors have to share police powers with the president as stipulated by the constitution. We do not have a federal government police force. We have the Nigerian police force, which shall be administered, organized, and supervised.
The scope of people who should be invited here for examination. My Lord, if we cannot find those who literally murdered Abiola, who are those people who could be said to be the beneficiaries of the death of Abiola?
Rogers has linked you with some of the killings he did.
He never did.
He linked you with the attempted murder of Hebrew.
He did not.
My Lord, the Matters Council is leading the evidence in our matters.
Is this an adversary proceeding?
It's not, my Lord, but you can't be talking about cases which are in court.
Is this an adversary proceeding?
It's not, my Lord. These cases are in court, my Lord. I'm just reminding your Lordship.
My Lord, sorry, my Lord, I think I'll be in cross-examination.
Legally Speaking, a program that deals with legal issues and questions we face as citizens of this amazing country, Nigeria. Legally Speaking. Join us every
Friday from 5 p.m. to 6 p.m.
for
All right, many thanks for still being there. As part of wrap up, we just had a break-in. Of course, the President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has appointed 20 new aides, and he's hired about 20 new aides after about 3 weeks since he made his last set of major appointments. Yeah. So we would say that just yesterday, I think we were talking about the fact that we're counting down to the 60-day window that he has, you know, to make his appointments and also make his ministerial appointments, you know, according to the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, those that will be assisting him, you know, in terms of governance for the next 4 years and all of that. So here we are. We would say that President Muhammadu Buhari,
Bola Ahmed
Tinubu now.
Personal assistants, PAs, and personal physician and photographers. So like people that are going to be working with him
closely.
Yes, you know, personal assistant on media, on, you know,
housekeeping, special assistant, catering, special assistant, visual communication, and personal photographer, Sishan, Adekunle Tinubu. We need to do like a background research on which Tinubu this is actually. So but again, when we even talk about the president, bone man, you know, you say you're my bone man, yes,
on his health,
like knows the history,
his health history. It won't just be someone that has, you know, appointed out of the blues. It's someone that has been there,
followed him all through
his health history, so that once we see the president coughing in a certain way, we know that, oh, he needs water or he needs this. So the only other thing we just need to find out, is it his son, is it a, you know, more like, but whatever that is, he has appointed, you know, his personal physician. I think something else that stood out is that some of these appointees have received the appointment letters
now to the social media space or to the public domain. So we are looking forward for the ministerial list. A lot of names have started flying here and there. I think there was a tweet actually, Uyai, that caught my interest. Let me see if I can look for that tweet. From Senator Shehu Sani, of course, former senator now. I think in the 8th Assembly, he was senator in the 8th Assembly. He says the list of President Tinubu's ministers in circulation is filled with former governors. The list is either a fake news or a prophecy. Now we achieved this height and all of that. So Shehu Sani is saying that we have seen lists flying, we've seen names flying, and some of them are majorly names of, you know, former governors. So it's either that list is fake, or whoever, or the governors that you're trying to say thank you to,
give us a balance.
Not even give us a balance, but then bring up 60% technocrats and 40% of these governors, so that we don't have, you know, there are some governors that have been levied or labeled, you know, with the corruption tag now, so that we don't have this, you know, backlog of old governors coming back to do the same kind of thing. We need to see difference. We need to see a change, and obviously Nigerians are waiting on that from this particular administration.
And I think as that, oh, you helped me gather numbers in some local governments, but how effective was your time as governor in your state? What were you really able to do? If we give you a ministry, will it die or succeed in your hand? Let's just put away sentiments. Nigeria doesn't need sentiments at this time. It's a failing institution that needs to be helped. But pretty much these are some of the conversations we have.
So we see the renewed hope that they're actually talking about,
that we actually
and
promised.
Not the renewed shege that, you know, it's being peddled on social media, because there's renewed shege and there's renewed hope.
So what exactly
is it going to be like? Definitely.
Great thoughts there. All right then. So Nigeria, this is the much we can take this morning. It's been Rise and Shine. Topical issues happening. To keep up with everything we've talked about on Rise and Shine, please do follow us across all social media platforms. Also, you can do well to follow us on our personal handles. Of course, we have different things that we put out there for you, and you can also ask and send us direct questions, and we'll handle those issues. But this is the much we can take this morning, and it's been a great delight doing this with you. My name is Uya.
To have a great day.